No.
Are we ready to kick the show off? Okay,
To show off?
kick the show off.
Oh, I thought you said to show off.
Well, I like to show off.
All right, welcome everybody. We'll call this meeting, the Finance Committee meeting to order. Can I get a motion to approve our minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, discussion items. We've got boards and commission interviews. And let's see. First up, Historic Landmarks Commission, J. Thomas Sawyer. Are you here? J. Thomas Sawyer. Anybody here by that name? No? Okay, we'll hold off on that for now in case they come late. Elizabeth Geneva Wood. Are you here? Elizabeth Geneva Wood. Okay. Well, we will put a pause on the boards and commissions and see if folks show up a little bit late, and we will move along. Yeah, and we will move along then to our quarterly financial report. Jessica Stratton.
All right, good afternoon, Council. All right, so today I'll begin by going over the fourth quarter financial report. So before I start, I wanted to explicitly state that the figures in this report do not reflect end-of-year numbers. They're not here yet. So period 13 will remain open within the financial system through about the end of April. And then between now and then, accounting will make accruals and other end-of-year adjustments that will significantly impact our end-of-year financial position. So as always, a year-end report will be made available during about the May-June timeline, with only the auditor's requirements being permissible afterward. So that's basically what's happening with finance right now, is that we're in period 13, so this is not end-of-year numbers. Okay, section 1 of the report, there are 4 sections, begins with a very important table. Here we see the year-to-date budget variance for general fund revenue and expenses. General fund revenue, less unrealized loss on investments, is favorable to budget by 2.1%. So that's awesome. And in the narrative below, under the revenue overview, you can read that sales tax, utility tax, and interest earnings have all contributed to this favorable variance. As for general fund expenses, they are also favorable to budget by about 3.5%, and I will talk about more of that later. So at the bottom of page 1, there's another very important table. Here's where you will see how the adopted general fund revenue and expense budgets were amended during 2022. So every quarter in the footnote there, you will find the exact SBOs that have contributed to the amendments. For fourth quarter, the largest SBOs were, of course, the CBA retro payment SBOs, which drove the expense budget higher. So page 2 is a year-to-date budget variance table for revenues by category, which I've already touched on, and pages 3 through 6 allows you to view revenue, budget to actuals by month. So I'm going to skip ahead to page 7. Okay, so now we're going to talk about general fund expenditures. And this table lists all the departments in the general fund and allows you to see what their year-to-date expense budget variance is. As of the end of December, only 3 departments were red flagged as possibly maybe being going in the trending towards going over budget. And how we look at this is we look at historical expense habits in that department and compare it to the current budget. So if anything goes outside of the norm, that's why a red flag will go up. So economic development's expense budget was increased, if you recall, in December due to 3 PDA SBOs. So that's out of the norm, and because of that budget increase in December, when you look at just that department individually, we do not actually expect it to go over budget. Historic preservation, they simply spent most of their operating supplies budget at the very beginning of 2022, which was just unusual spending habit, so that's why it's red flagged. But again, when you look at them individually, we do not expect them to actually go over. Police there at the bottom, even when we look at their period 13 historical trend, because again, these are not end of year numbers, even we expect to be either at or below budget at the end of 2022.
Jessica, the allocations to other departments, is there a breakdown somewhere of that?
Not in this report, but yeah, we can do that. But it's typically the other funds that depend on the general fund, like parks, library,
Stuff
fire.
that kind of passes through or, okay.
Yes. Okay, so page 8 just allows you to peek into the current budget variances for other funds. And then we're going to skip to page 9. Page 9, it drills down into the police and fire's uniform overtime line item. As expected with the ARP SBOs that were passed just last month, police should end 2022 under budget, while fire's uni overtime overage is expected to be covered within the fund by other positive budget variances. So this is as we would expect right now. Are there any questions on section 1?
So when you say fire will come in with other, we're basically saying that other departments are kind of subsidizing, if you will, right, to make that equal out? Is that what you're saying?
No. For fire, it's its own special revenue fund, and I'm saying other, like expense accounts within that fund will have favorable variances.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, okay. Super tiny. All right, so section 2 of the quarterly report shows the status of the general fund reserves. It begins at the top with the beginning balances as of December 21. And here we can see the revenue stabilization, contingency reserve, and unappropriated fund balances broken out. So not including the annual encumbrance carry forward, we began 2022 with $44.3 million in reserves in the general fund. During 2022, so it's that middle section there, through SBO amendments, both the adopted general fund revenues and expenses are changed. Again, exact SBOs are identified on page 1 every quarter in the quarterly report and monthly via emails with the intra-fund report. And then at the end of this, the ending reserve balance is calculated. So it is truly just the beginning balance plus budgeted revenues, subtract budgeted expenses, subtract revenue stabilization, because we want to reserve the reserve, and subtract the contingency reserve equals the remaining unappropriated fund balance. And here you can see that the calculation actually results in a negative unappropriated fund balance, which is not surprising. It is what we expected. During the fourth quarter, we knew that the general fund was experiencing favorable budget variances. I just told you that the revenues, 2.1%, beating the budget, expenses, 3.5%, beating the budget as well, coming in under. So the SBOs that were done in the fourth quarter, we knew would eat into some of the 2022 unappropriated fund balance. So to estimate what the 2022 fund balance might be, I did the same calculation that I just described, but I used projected general fund revenues and expenses. So literally, I did the beginning balance plus budgeted revenues, multiplied it by the favorable variance, subtract the budgeted expenses, multiplied by the favorable variance, and then reserved the reserves. And that calculation indicates the unappropriated fund balance at the end of the year could be $12.7 million. Are there any questions there? Again, not end of year numbers yet, so we will be back to tell you where we actually ended. So section 3 of the quarterly report changes every quarter and usually highlights an item of special interest. This quarter, we chose to complement Tanya's CIP study session 2 weeks ago, in which she talked about the unfunded general fund capital projects, and that is what's listed here. As she talked about, current funding sources for these projects are overwhelmed with demand. And if council wants more information on these projects, please let us know. Simply if you just want to comment on maybe what is a priority or important to you. Okay, last section. Section 4 is economic indicators. The local unemployment appears to have returned to its normal seasonal historical trends post-pandemic. And as for sales tax, it also appears to be returning to its typical seasonality and unfortunately back to single-digit annual growth. Okay, are there any questions on the quarterly report? Yes.
So when you look at the sales tax and unemployment, well, mostly sales tax, are you factoring in inflation? So typically what people would do would not spend as much anticipating for inflation or that we're going to be going into a recession. So is that calculated at all?
So what this economic indicator is, it's actuals. So it's literally taking in all the sales tax we've actually received and comparing it to last year.
Okay. So do you do any analysis, though?
Oh,
to
yes.
Forecast?
Yes. No, Jake Miller in our team, he does a lot of the revenue projections.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Other questions? No? And then you have the encumbrance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this goes hand in hand, so that's why I'm going next again. So the encumbrance carry forward. So this item is part of the annual budget process. So again, happens every year. And as the result of this process will be an SBO for encumbrance carry forwards. The annual encumbrance carryover process moves expenditure authority for goods or services properly encumbered but unspent in the prior fiscal year and pushes it into the current fiscal year. So literally, it'll take 2022 expense authority and push it into 23. Reasons why this is necessary. Examples include grants that carry over from year to year, because not every grant begins January 1 and ends December 31st. Capital projects, as we know, span multiple years. And just otherwise items that have been ordered prior to December 31st but have not been received. So this exercise started just last Friday, and it created a gigantic list of around 2,000 rows that accountants will scrub and then submit their recommendations for carryover to the budget office. And then after we further scrub the recommendations, we will create an SBO. So this process takes approximately 2 weeks, and that is why you currently only have a placeholder agenda sheet in front of you. So to understand the scale of this exercise, the 5-year average of the encumbrance carryover has averaged $127.5 million across all city funds, with the general funds portion averaging about $3.4 million during the same 5-year average. So again, we're looking at it right now. It takes about 2 weeks, and the end result will be an SBO that will come to you, and it is tentatively scheduled to be voted on February 6th. Why the tight turnaround is because some funds, including ARPA, cannot have any spend until this process is done.
Okay. Questions?
Okay.
Anything else on that part?
No, I'm good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. And I think just to keep with the theme, I'm actually going to skip really quick and go to Chris Johnson with the quarterly investment report.
Okay. Chris Johnson, Deputy Treasurer. Thank you for the time today to go over the fourth quarter investment report. So some topics that we're going to go over today will pertain to the current cash and investment balances, the portfolio composition and the performance thereof, as well as the strategic focus for 2023. So we ended the fourth quarter on December 31st with a little over $410 million on hand and combined between cash and investments. That's about a 7% decline from where we ended Q3, but that's pretty much in line with seasonal trends. We usually have a slight dip from the third quarter into the fourth quarter, sometimes into the following year, but nothing really out of line there. I will note that in the fourth quarter, we had tremendous pricing pressure on the portfolio due to Federal Reserve activity. A full 200 basis points or 2 full percentage points of federal funds rates increased from September and bled into the fourth quarter and all throughout Q4 into mid-December. So that's a lot of rate increases for a portfolio to absorb. It's fixed income, so keep that in mind when we look at the unrealized losses. As to the portfolio in terms of position, where did we end the year regarding the holdings? We had, it's a little hard to see, 69% of the portfolio was held in federal agency debt, and then our second largest holding was the LGIP, or the Local Government Investment Pool, which we term Treasury Cash. Off to the right there is our investment policy in terms of maximum allowable percentages of the portfolio per holding. And then right in the middle there is our actual percentages. And then to the far right is whether we complied or not. We fully complied with the policy, so I thought council would like to know that. As to the portfolio from a liquidity lens, we had 49% of the portfolio due back to us in less than 24 months. And a little bit more of a drill down on that, 40% of the portfolio is due back to us in less than 12 months. So it's pretty optimum level of liquidity there as we ended the year going into the next year. 40% is pretty solid, so that's a positive.
Chris, do you think, is there since 40% of that is within the next year, or is within a 1 year period, is there any risk that we're going to see some losses as we possibly dip into a recession, et cetera?
Well, we're a hold to maturity investor, so losses would only incur if we actually sold something that had losses attributed to it. I don't foresee any need to sell anything at this point in time. That was kind of the Q4 strategy, was to build liquidity, to have a good foundation going into next year, support ARPA and whatever outlays the city may have. So no, I don't anticipate any losses at all.
Great.
I'd rather not book them, yeah. Okay, so as to the purchases or what new investments did we make in the fourth quarter, we didn't make any. That was telegraphed in the third quarter investment report, again, to build that foundation of liquidity. We did have maturities of about $15 million come back to us, and we kept that within the Treasury Cash, or the Local Government Investment Pool. But we did deploy $140 million plus in terms of new investments throughout last year. Most of that was in the form of federal agency debt, followed by municipal and treasury-based securities. And what we did add to the portfolio had an average coupon rate of a little over 2.25%, and then an average yield of a little over 3%, with an average maturity of over 3.5 years. So good quality additions to the portfolio throughout last year. Now, as to the performance of the portfolio, off to the right is a graph of two curves. One, the orange, is where we began 2022 in terms of the rate curve, and the blue is where we ended 2022. So the spread between the two is quite wide, and that reflects Federal Reserve activity of rates going up. And that feeds into the pressure on price in terms of market valuation of our holdings. So we ended the year with $12.9 million in unrealized losses. Now, we would have to liquidate the entire portfolio to realize those losses. Those losses will become smaller through time, just through the natural maturity of the investments. As they move closer and closer to maturity, any losses attributed to an individual security become smaller and smaller. And if rates, of course, go down, those losses will truncate on their own. But it's not all bad. We have a fixed income portfolio, so it is designed to generate income, and we generated $6.7 million in interest income last year, $2.4 million in Q4 alone. So it did what it was supposed to do, and the individual funds of the city that invest in the portfolio accrued those benefits of interest income. Now, as to the performance versus the benchmark, we had an average maturity of 2.3 years at the end of Q4. It's a bit outside the 1 to 2 year benchmark that we're currently using, but nothing to be concerned about. It's pretty minuscule. The yield was 2.31%, which is widely outside the range of our benchmark, but our benchmark is a market rate base of interest. And therefore, when you have Federal Reserve activity like we've had, it's hard for a hold-to-maturity portfolio to keep up with that type of move. So not surprising, but we just have to be patient and allow investments to mature and then take that money and put it back into hopefully an investment with a higher yield and boost that average. So looking at 2023, where are we going? We're going to convene the investment committee here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have some topics of discussion in that committee, and whatever comes of that, we'll relay to council at another investment report. But 2023, we will continue to focus on liquidity. It is our mandate in policy to have a liquid portfolio to some degree. We have to keep in mind ARPA's spend throughout next year and probably a couple of years after that. And we have to also continue to plan for liquidity after ARPA. ARPA is a large amount of money, so eventually we won't have it, and we will have to backstop that with additional cash. But in the investment committee itself, I will be recommending that we implement a structure to the portfolio. Right now, the portfolio has no structure. And the structure I am going to recommend is a ladder-like structure. If supported, I'll detail out for council what that exactly means, but it's important to have a structure because it keeps you disciplined. And a ladder-like structure specifically will keep you from, having a tendency to time the market, which is not a really good idea. No one's really very good at that. So it also allows you to have consistency in terms of cash coming back to you in the form of maturities, as well as identify consistent interest income coming through the portfolio. So there will be some benefits in having a structure. And finally, I will be presenting a new benchmark for the portfolio. Right now, we're using the 1 to 2 year Treasury security. That's a range of time. Not a fan of a range of time. I'm also not a fan of a market-based rate of interest because that's a market, and we have a portfolio that has got goals and objectives along with liquidity provisions and et cetera that need to be met. So it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison. We can get an apples-to-apples comparison or close to it by utilizing a blended benchmark. So if the committee does support that, I will be detailing out what that looks like and what those indices are that make up that blend. So that's what we're looking for next year. Do you have any questions?
Has that committee been established already? The investment committee.
It has.
Okay.
We are looking for a guest,
Okay.
potentially. Would you like to come?
I would love. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. That's fine. Any other questions?
Not seeing any. Thank you
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
much. Okay, Spencer, Ash Street.
Okay, good afternoon. Just to clarify, there's nowhere to share this, right? We don't have the WebEx going.
Not today.
Okay. So I'm here to talk about a project that came up at the very end of last year. First, we'll talk a little bit about the problem that we're trying to solve. So this is the southbound portion of Ash Street as you're approaching the West Central neighborhood. If you've driven on this stretch, the Ash eventually curves down and joins the Maple Street Bridge. And there's a section that continues straight and then tees into Broadway. So that's the location that we're talking about that you can see on the map there. This arrangement poses a couple of problems. The first is the current design has 2 lanes of traffic that continue straight on Ash. As you're heading down Ash, it's a pretty major thoroughfare. Traffic speeds tend to be pretty high. As you transition off of the main thoroughfare and onto that 2-block stretch that comes down to Broadway, you're going past a school there, and it's really more of a neighborhood street that's not serving a through purpose for traffic, but that we see pretty high traffic speeds along that stretch. The other problem is for those who are trying to walk east and west and cross Ash there, that crossing is pretty challenging. And so we're hoping we can address that with the project that is proposed. And the last is that if you are in the neighborhood and you're trying to head south on the Maple Street Bridge, the way the traffic movement for doing that currently is that you have to head north on Oak Street and then east on Dean, and then you can get onto the section that goes down to the bridge. So you're routing all of that through traffic on those local residential streets. So the proposal, and you can see the design here, I'm sorry it flipped, so north is now heading to the right. The proposed design would reconvert Ash to two-way operation for that 2-block stretch. The crossing at Dean would also become easier because you'd have a large island where, as a person walking, you have the ability to cross one lane headed southbound on the local stretch, and then wait for a break in traffic to cross the 2 remaining lanes if you're heading eastbound. So that is, in terms of the operations, that's really what we're looking at here. So why are we looking at this project now? This arose from discussions that the Planning Department had with ICM at the end of last year. We realized that there was an opportunity to pursue this and to get it done very quickly. This project is listed on the transportation impact fee list. So when new development occurs in this area, those developers, there's a fee associated for transportation impacts. That fund has a specific list of projects, and this is one of those projects that has been listed. So it's been talked about many times before. The opportunity that we had was to use TIF money, and that's why we're here, to leverage the transportation impact fee money and the TIF money to add this project to the citywide traffic calming projects that are going into design, are actually currently in design. So in order to add it to that list, we have to provide that funding by the end of January. So by the time we were having these discussions in December, we realized we needed to move quickly. I'll come back to the timeline in a minute. So what we're looking at is almost a 50-50 split, $150,000 of transportation impact fees, and then $180,000 of TIF fees, or TIF money. Originally, we had thought of a 50-50 split, and it would have been a $300,000 project. After some outreach with the neighborhood, they expressed some concern about design features, especially landscaping in the median. They wanted it to look more than just a big concrete island in the middle of the street. And so in recognition of that, we boosted the request from the TIF by $30,000, and we think that will cover some landscaping to beautify the island there. So the total project cost would be $330,000. So back to the timeline. We presented this to the NPAC, the Neighborhood Project Advisory Committee. That is the committee that's been set up to hear TIF requests for TIF funds and then recommend those to council. We presented on December 7th, but hadn't done any significant outreach at that time, so that was just for information purposes. We then reached out to the school, Bryant School, right there. I met with the principal. She's very supportive of the project, very excited. We then met with the neighborhood council, and we wanted to meet with them in December, but unfortunately, because of the holidays, they don't have a meeting in December. So that's part of the time crunch, is that we had to wait to do that outreach with the neighborhood council. We met with them on the 11th last week, had a positive meeting. The neighborhood largely seems to support it. We came back to the MPAC last Thursday and presented our outreach and presented the project again, and the Neighborhood Project Advisory Committee has recommended this project for approval. And that's why we are bringing this to you today. So we're at the committee today, and I mentioned the end of January funding deadline. I checked in with Inga, and she indicated that February 6th would be okay. You have your town hall next Monday, so there's no legislative items. So she felt that we could probably make this work with a February 6th council decision instead. So I will come forward at that time with a resolution expressing support for this use of TIF funds, and at that point we will have what we need to go ahead and move forward with the project. It will then get added to the queue that's being designed currently for these projects, and then we would be under construction in the summer. So I'm told that's like warp speed for projects around the city, which astonishes me, but I'm hopeful that we can get this done for summer.
Questions? Go ahead.
This sounds great. My question is, if you go back a slide to where you show the crossing, the pedestrian crossing, and so you're going to cross one lane, there's going to be an island, and then you're going to cross 2 lanes.
Right.
That sounds like playing Frogger to me. And so I'm wondering, because speeds are going really high, those 2 lanes that you're going to cross, that's where the speeds are going to be going high, correct?
Yes.
Is there a better place to cross where you're not coming into that curve or going out of that curve? And maybe instead of just good luck getting across, a hawk light or something like that?
So the question of a hawk light or some other signalized crossing has come up. First of all, nothing in this project would preclude us from coming in and doing something like that in the future.
Okay.
I think the way I would think of this right now is this is a major improvement over the current situation, which is
Yeah.
that you have nowhere to pause and break the crossing. So this provides an improvement over the current condition. But certainly if that were an issue, we could take a look. I'm not a traffic engineer, but my guess is that it would be challenging to meet the warrants for a signal at that location.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's why I'm wondering if there's even if you moved north a block, you've got a school there, so certainly children are going to be crossing that to get to the school. And so that's my concern. So you're having little kids cross that street. That
Yeah.
sounds frightening.
So would your preference be to just close the crossing altogether? Or,
And move it north,
I mean,
even a block.
a person walking is certainly welcome to head north
But
and
a
cross
child
at a
wouldn't
location.
necessarily know to do that.
What's that?
A child wouldn't necessarily know to do that. They would
Oh,
just be, yeah,
absolutely.
let's cross here.
The other thing I'll mention about the school is that's not a neighborhood school. That's one of the districts, I don't know what the term is, but it's sort of a hybrid homeschooling program. So I don't think they tend to pull kids from within walking distance. So I'm not sure what the volume is of children walking to and from the school, but it doesn't see the same level of activity as a regular neighborhood school.
I just get kind of concerned when trying to cross a street like that, regardless, without some help from
Absolutely.
a light or something.
Yeah, I think the way to think of this is an improvement over the current situation.
Yeah.
And again, if there is an issue, we can always come back and
Spencer, if
address that.
if we don't know the volume of kids that would be crossing, I mean, how did this sort of get flagged as a priority to?
I
these
don't
changes?
know. I'm not sure where this project came up initially. Like I said, it's been on the list for the transportation impact fees. I think it addresses more concerns than simply the crossing at Dean there, because we are routing a lot of that through traffic, through those neighborhood streets. Several neighbors that came to the neighborhood council meeting expressed strong support for this. They mentioned that there's a lot of, basically the current situation, if you're an Uber driver or you just don't know your way around and you plug it into Google Maps or something, it actually routes people down Dean instead of Broadway in a lot of cases, even though Broadway is really the thoroughfare, because eventually you have to be up to Dean to head south. So they were very excited about the prospect of sending that traffic back down to Broadway where it belongs. So I think that's one of the major benefits here, besides the crossing things. It really just puts traffic back to the streets where we intend those higher volumes.
Gotcha. I've got one more big comment, but if there's other questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Is this something that was ever in as you talked about the traffic calming, is this in that program as well, or was this specifically in the impact fees?
No, to my knowledge, this was not included in the traffic calming program, and that's, I would guess, because it has been on the impact fee list and it's been around for a while.
Would this one be better as a traffic calming project than as in impact fees?
I mean, it's really just a difference of funding in terms of the actual design or the process. I'd say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. You could put it onto the traffic calming program, but who knows if that will surface with other projects.
Yeah. I'm just thinking through, as we all know, we have some pretty significant issues in other areas of town, and I'm just trying to figure out if, and that funding can only be used specifically for certain things, so trying to figure out if funding it from a different source that's also allowable might be a better use of it, and we can talk about that more.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is that the TIF money this is exactly the kind of projects that were foreseen by the TIF, so it's absolutely an appropriate use of that money. And this project was included in the traffic impact fee program, so again, it was foreseen as a
Right.
reasonable use of those funds. If we look for a different set of funding to pay for this project, I'm not sure that there's anything that jumps out as a more appropriate funding source.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, questions? My last thing is just kind of more global view, but thinking about, because the issue here is it being a one-way, and that one-way kind of encourages faster traffic. Well, we've got a lot of one-ways downtown and places like that where really the traffic should be destination-based, not necessarily, pass through. And so thinking globally about one-way streets and things like that, where they make sense and where they don't, I think is a bigger conversation that probably needs to be had. Over just one-off little fixes here and there. Let's think globally about where those streets are most appropriate. So I know that's not entirely your wheelhouse, but I think that's in my mind, kind of where we need to think about it. So,
Thank you.
okay.
Spencer, thank you for the time you spent with the neighborhood council. He did a good presentation, and there's always been a lot of stress involved in that area, in that neighborhood. So he did a great job listening to them and explaining to them what's going to happen.
Very good. Anything else for Spencer? Hearing none. Thank you very much,
you.
Spencer. We will have Lyndon, Shrek Service. And just an FYI, there's no sponsors listed, but I believe Councilmembers Bingle and myself have agreed to be the sponsors for the agreement.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. And yes, that was my understanding that Council members Cathcart and Bingle would be sponsors. So what we have, everybody, is this is a service level agreement. This is a continuation of the MOU that we signed with Shrek to cover November and December of last year after we moved our fire dispatch to Spokane Regional Emergency Services, I'm not sure what the C is, Center, Communications. So in continuing that, the fees are the same, and these would be through the end of the year. It's about $150,000 a month. If we are not able to get our SLA signed by or entered by March, we would be paying a 32% administration fee. And the reason behind that is because we were given the fee, basically the rates of what a full member, like let's say Spokane County or Airway Heights or whatever one of those other members are that are using their services now, the same rate that they get. So it's not necessarily, I think it's a discounted rate based on us signing a 12-month contract, if that makes sense to everybody. No. And we're given that straight out of the gate when we moved them over in November and December. But to that end, this agreement is basically just the services that we are going to get from Shrek. We've looked at them. Fire looked at them. They believe that these are exactly what we were doing previously under our own dispatch and what we would expect fire dispatch to do for us in the future going forward. So that's the reason for the service level agreement. Any fees, that type of stuff, if we want to enter into negotiation on that would be at a later date. That would be down the road to see if we're not getting something or we're not getting the level of services that we desire. I know that Councilmember Stratton has some questions, and we're going to engage Shrek to answer those, but I don't want those to sidetrack us. I want to probably enter into the agreement, but we know what we're asking for. We want the questions answered, and that will hold Shrek to the agreement and to the services that we are getting. But I know I've spoke with Councilmember Stratton on that topic, and we'll get to the bottom of those. We'll reach out to council and to Shrek administration and get those questions answered. Okay. Yes.
Did current employees move over to Shrek, or are new employees being hired?
We did send some of our fire dispatch over. I'm not sure if the increase in fire dispatch, if they will have to hire new members or not. That's a Shrek question. I'm not positive about that. I can inquire as to that as well.
I'm just wondering if there are enough employees that are needed to actually do the job, or are calls going unanswered?
They have not given us any indication that they are not able to handle the capacity. They took it on in November, December, and they've not told us that they're struggling or that they are underwater at this point.
But would they have, unless you asked?
That I don't know. That I don't.
You'd have to ask in order for them to.
And that's another question to add to my list. I'll inquire, make sure that they're fully staffed and they have the ability to take everything on.
Other question? Go ahead.
I have a few more questions that I'd like to see before we sign on it. So one, I couldn't quite tell, but because it just says City of Spokane, but I'm assuming that this is a standard contract they would have with one of the Valley Fire Districts, et cetera. So I'd like to have your office look at a couple of the other ones and make sure that they're similar.
Sure.
As
And
opposed-
that's our representation that this is their standard
Okay.
service level agreement.
So I'd
But
like
we can
someone to look at
investigate
that.
for sure.
It'd be great to see, and you can send it to us, the current fee schedule, because we haven't seen, this agreement just says you're bound by that.
Right. And that's one of the questions that Councilmember Stratton
Yeah.
had.
The other thing is, when I looked at this, it talked about primary call taking, and last year they came to us and said there was a new thing that they called secondary call taking, and they were going to charge our police quite a bit for this, but in the agreement, I thought I only saw primary. And primary should be covered by the 911 tax that we already pay our share for. So it seems like we shouldn't be paying, I mean, they should be doing it already, so I don't mind keeping it in there, but I would like to see the breakdown for fire and law enforcement by member of Shrek of that primary charge per call, that secondary charge, and then the dispatch. So there's 3 different ones, and we've been wanting to see that. So it'd be helpful to get that especially since they are including the primary and not the secondary in this agreement. So.
No, absolutely. And just so everybody else understands, it's PSAP 1, PSAP 2, and PSAP 1 is basically the 911 call that comes in, and then is that sent off to another agency? So we have our own police dispatch. That's what we call PSAP 2, and that gets transferred over to our police, our police dispatch. And I'm wondering if the difference is that I'm not sure that there's much on a fire call other than it comes in, is this a fire, is this emergency medical systems? And so those are the only, I'm not sure that there is a PSAP 2 on fire, so I'll inquire as to that.
Okay, but on police, we did it that way. The call came in, and then they sent it to our police dispatch. And then last year, they started saying, no, we're going to charge you for not police dispatch, but some other questions that we have been asking for years that we're going to now charge you that used to be part of the 911 tax that paid for that.
Right.
So I'm just looking for, okay, if you've segregated out those earlier 911 calls into 2 parts, what is the cost for the second part, and are you charging other organizations that, and is that reflected in the fire piece? Because it doesn't seem to be reflected in there.
Right, and agreed. We are going through those conversations on the police side. I'm not sure that there is a PSAP 2 part to fire calls, and there could be, but actually, absolutely, we'll inquire as to that.
Thanks.
Other questions, thoughts? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Michael Sloon, Dell Value Blanket. No.
You got me today. Mike is out sick.
Gotcha. Well, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Las Martinez. I'm the interim IT director. The reason why I'm here is to request your authorization to have a value blanket for the purchase of hardware, equipment, servers, switches, and all those. And our plan is not to exceed $50,000 on every purchase, which is the maximum limit, and to buy approximately per year $750,000 worth of equipment. The contract starts on February this year and should end in November 2025, if I believe. So that's basically the request for authorization on that.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions about the order? Seeing none, hearing none. Thank you.
Good. Am I
Easy.
covering the other two items right now or later? I have two more items today in this committee.
Let's go ahead and do it right now. I didn't know you had two more.
Okay, good. So the other one is related to the purchase of the support agreement for PM Web. This is a software that is utilized by our integrated capital management for project management, scheduling, costing, and all that. This year, the cost is $110,000. Last year was around $92,000. This is within the range. And the reason for the increase this year is related to adding a few more users on the PM Web. That was the second item.
I don't think we need to, because these are on
Oh,
consent.
these are just our consent items? Okay, yeah, then we're fine.
consent.
Yeah, there hasn't been a request to bring these forward. So then,
good.
if they're not related
Good
to
job.
the Dell, then we're good. Yep.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But on that note, I did ask John DeLay to give us just a very quick 2-minute overview of the PEG expenditures, reimbursements, and just give us the 50,000-foot view on that. And after John, I'm going to have Michelle very quickly just give us an overview on the awards that are in our consent as well.
Good afternoon, Council. These are your annual contracts that are related to Comcast PEG fees. So on your cable bill, each of you, if you're a citizen of Spokane, you'll see two fees. One is a PEG fee, one is a franchise fee. The PEG fee goes to public education government, thus the PEG. And we, the city, in turn, chooses to divide that in 3 ways, the PEG fees. So third goes to public, third goes to education, third goes to government. The public is your CMTV, which is Channel 14. Government is Channel 5, City Cable 5, woo. And then the third is your educational channels. KSPS is, there's one that says PEG Cable Channel Distribution. That's the KSPS. And that is for the distribution of all of our PEG channels, minus City Cable 5. So these funds go to reimburse both CMTV for capital expenses related to video programming, and the cable channel distribution with KSPS goes to capital expenses, reimbursement expenses based on distribution of those channels. There's also under the educational portion of the contract, there's also a minor contract with Spokane Public Schools for the remaining portion of that $70,000. It's about $1,700 for production equipment for them to produce programming for their channel. So, any questions?
Okay, appreciate that. I just think it's important for people to understand kind of what these dollars
It's
do.
a
And
complex process.
absolutely. Any questions? Go ahead.
As fewer and fewer people are subscribing to cable, so the money's going to go down. Is there any kind of plan to backfill?
Well, we're locked into a 10-year agreement, and that's almost unheard of for cable franchises. Now they're usually 3 to 5 years. We were fortunate enough 2 years ago to lock into a 10-year capital plan or franchise agreement. What happens after that 10 years, who knows? It's anybody's guess. But we did renegotiate how we capture those funds. Instead of a certain per subscriber basis, we're going on a percentage basis. So numbers have been kind of going up and down. This year, I think in the pandemic, we saw numbers throughout the nation increasing. And what we did see during the pandemic was it was great. I mean, we have to pat ourselves on the back for being PEG channels. The amount of information that was being requested from government entities and their PEG channels went through the roof. I don't know what the percentages were, but it was a ridiculous amount of hits, if you will, that are people watching their cable channels. So, if I could look into the future, I'd say we're going to be pretty good for a while because it fluctuates. Let's
Yeah.
hope we never have another pandemic. But that did raise the numbers, and it raised the increase for people that were actually watching the channels. And one thing that you'll see is once people end up choosing to cut the cord, they're finding that they don't have the access to the live government meetings. But we have a very robust social media system within the city of Spokane. So all of our programming can go out to the internet world.
They're all choosing to come down in person. Those that have,
Pardon?
they're all choosing to come down in person
Let's
instead.
hope so.
And John, we won't be here in 10 years, so it doesn't matter.
One more time?
We won't be here in 10 years, it doesn't matter.
No, you won't.
John, thank you very much.
bet.
Councilmember Stratton, I know wants to say something. I'm guessing what she will be saying will be reflective of what we're all thinking, so I will let her.
I believe this is your last week here before you retire.
This is my last council meeting tonight. I get the draw. And my first one went to 1 a.m. 35 years ago.
I've known you a long time. I haven't been here as long as you have, but I just want you to know how appreciated you are, and how much I've enjoyed working with you the last several years. You have done such an amazing job in making the city look good on film, on our council connections. You've put up with so much from council on some of our crazy ideas that we get. But I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I know that council members have enjoyed working with you, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And you are going to be missed.
And
Please
I
know
will
that.
I will miss this place. I truly will.
Yeah, well, you're in our hearts.
So,
So
thank you.
I would like to give you a phone call in about a month and find out if you really do miss this place.
As long as there's no snow in the mountains, I will.
Thanks, John.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
John, thank
All right. Thank you.
And there's a couple of awards listed in our consent. I just wanted Michelle to just quickly give us an overview of those.
Thank you and good afternoon. We are just presenting forth for award for, in August of 2008, you guys approved tranche 3, which gave $5 million to small business, $5 million to nonprofits, and then $1.5 million to down payment assistance. And so I just wanted to recap that for the small business, we gave out 38 awards totaling $1.35 million. And for the nonprofits, we gave out 56 awards totaling $2.3 million. And then we awarded out the $1.5 million in down payment assistance.
That's great.
Is there any questions?
And where can, if anybody's curious to see where those awards were, which organizations received those?
So
Just in the packet?
So as soon as it is approved by council, which was slated for February 6th, the award listing that is in the packet will be published on the ARPA website under closed funding opportunities, and it will say awardees.
Perfect. Okay. Any questions on that? Excellent.
I just, one, we haven't had a ARPA working group meeting in a while, otherwise I'd probably know this, but, so the balance between what we approved and what's been awarded, is there's going to be additional rounds? Is that essentially going to happen?
Correct. This was tranche 1,
Yep, okay,
or round 1.
okay, great.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else from council on this?
It's great.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Johnny, are you here for Patrick Stryker? Is that? Sure. Okay. If you want to come up and do that, and then we'll have our budget process discussion be our last item.
Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart, Council President Beggs, members of the City Council, Johnny Perkins, City Administrator. It is my honor and pleasure to brief our next Director of Office of Neighborhood Services, Patrick Stryker. Mr. Stryker comes to us as a Whitworth pirate, has a bachelor's degree in theology, a minor in philosophy. He also has a master's degree in organizational sustainability from Green Mountain College. But just as important as that, Patrick Stryker has been the Executive Director of Spokane Cops since 2015. I've had the pleasure to work with Patrick since I've been in this role as City Administrator, and I could attest to his passion for Spokane, his commitment, dedication for our neighborhoods and our community. I've been out multiple times at neighborhood council meetings and just out in the community and neighborhoods at various events, including National Night Out, which is traditionally held in August. And Patrick Stryker has displayed leadership, qualities, integrity, character that this office will thrive on in terms of his role as guiding our Office of Neighborhood Services and giving the neighborhoods of our community the attention that they rightly and justly deserve. So on behalf of the mayor, I'm here to brief Mr. Stryker before you this afternoon. We will put his name into nomination during advance briefing, and then his name will be in front of you this evening for consideration to nominate him as our next Director of Office of Neighborhood Services. I'll take any questions. I know he will be here at the briefing session in a couple hours in case you want to speak with him directly.
I know, I for one am very excited to have him in that role. Questions, comments?
What would be his start date?
Tomorrow at 0800.
What?
Tomorrow at 0800, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
So if we vote tonight, tomorrow?
If you confirm him this evening, he will start tomorrow morning. If not, we'll have to figure out another date.
No, that's not, you're
Yes.
pulling our leg, really.
No, he's going to start tomorrow, Councilmember Kinnear, yes.
Okay.
He has already given notice
Wow.
to.
All right.
Hit the ground running?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
very excited. He's got some great plans and ideas for what this office should look like, and we're very excited and thrilled to have.
Apparently, he's excited, too, because he's starting tomorrow at 8
Yes.
o'clock.
That's right. Chomping at the bit. Anything else from council? No? All right.
Thank you, sir.
very much. Matt, are you leading the discussion on the process? Well, let's have you come up and,
Starting tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
so, well, is this supposed to be our ordinance on,
The
supplemental?
supplementary budget. as
okay,
well
so I
as
think
the
what's throwing me
biennial.
off was the council sponsors, because I'm not on there, so that's why I was.
Well, yep, the council sponsors are Council President Beggs as well as Councilmember Councilmember Wilkerson, and you are actually the issuer of this. I
Okay.
just put it into the decision system for you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, essentially, and since that is what we're talking about, I should, pull it up here.
So, sorry,
essentially-
just to confirm, all three of you are sponsors then, basically, right? Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. So essentially what this does is it lays out two pieces. One, it lays out a very simple process of dates for certain information to come to council for us to help in our decision-making and a supplemental budget process. There's a few different dates laid out between March and July. July 3rd being sort of this hard stop. If we're going to adopt a supplemental budget, it has to happen on or before that date. I don't think we plan to have a meeting on July 3rd, given that the next day is the 4th. So theoretically, we'd be doing this most likely the week prior or earlier than that. But that's just sort of our own self-imposed deadline. In my mind, we use Christmas as kind of that deadline for our end-of-year budget, and I think we can kind of use the 4th as sort of that same concept. So it lays those out, and maybe, Matt, you can get into the specifics of each of those dates.
Yeah, just really quickly, high level. I mean, in talking with Jessica Stratton, the budget director on the administration side, essentially what it is it aligns with a lot of the work they already do. So March 3rd, it's talking about presenting, similar to what she did today, talking about the reserve balances of where they at year end. Like she said today, that she didn't have year-end numbers because revenue is 2 months behind, as well as period 13 still being open. So having that March Finance Committee gives a little bit more time to have a better idea. It's not going to be 100% certain. It gives, I would say, when we were toying around with the numbers, it was kind of saying within a 90% accuracy range of, okay, this is where the reserve balances are at the end of that year, whether we added to or dropped below. And that plants that seed of, okay, moving forward, that's what's in our savings account. Then subsequent to that, the April meeting is saying, okay, having that Q1 report, again, similar to what she did today, it's not going to have the full quarter of revenues, but we're going to have a good idea of where fourth quarter trended, whether it be up or down based on our projections, as well as having a month, maybe two of numbers for our sales tax data. So we can identify, are we overspending our projected budget for the year? If we are, okay, do we need to kind of think about that in our grand scheme of things? Talking about that supplemental budget, are we trending downward, meaning are we under earning? And do we need to make a change on that and make those numbers be more realistic to the end of the year? Because if we're under earning, we're obviously going to have a negative variance there. And then that leads into the May numbers, or the May finance meeting, where the administration is going to essentially present to council the recommendation of what they do at that mid-year budget. So that's that July 3rd date. Ideally, kind of, or theoretically, kind of halfway through the year, that's when it's voted on, so that we have 6 months to enact that. While it'd be great to have public testimony and a lot of open dialogue with that, if we bleed that into final numbers, and this was kind of the thought process, if we bleed that into final numbers that really don't finish out until June or July until they're presented, and then have a public testimony after that, we're not going to be able to make that vote until September, August or September, and that leaves very little time to make a course correction for the end of the year if you're trying to implement a supplemental budget. So by having it more of an emergent sort of situation of saying, okay, this is what we're seeing as trending, whether it be negative, positive, or nothing at all, maybe, you know, business as usual, maybe our projections were spot on, then we can do that with 6 months left and kind of say, let's change, let's adapt, or let's keep business as usual.
And
so those are those dates.
And the intention is just to be incredibly thoughtful in decision-making with our budget. This gives us, I think, just another opportunity to get deep in the weeds, make those whether they're tweaks or big changes, but to do so before we're at the end of the year where you really can't, make them impactful for the existing year. The other piece that's in there that is really important, and I think at least as drafted right now, we've pulled back at least from my original intent, which was to make this sort of mandatory, but that essentially just saying that, we have to look at the information on projections for reserves or projections for revenues and projections for expenditures to determine whether or not the budget would balance over the following year.
Correct.
So this is in there as well, rather than
Right.
being on its own. And it's more of a educational data kind of point than a mandatory requirement of how we balance the budget. But I still
Exactly.
think at some point that might be what we have to
Yeah,
do.
I think this is a first step to go into that direction. I think it's saying, okay, let's have the information in front of us. I think we know, that there are a lot of probable expenditures that there's contracts that we lock in. There's capital expenditures that we know are on the horizon. There's some that we've taken out of a current year's budget to move it into a next year's budget. That has a compounding effect. So while we could say, okay, yeah, this budget is balanced, if we could see side by side, okay, this budget is balanced, but we've taken out a $10 million capital project or a $5 million capital project, what the impact and the imbalance that creates in the subsequent year. Not necessarily, like Councilmember Cathcart said, this isn't necessarily to say that both years have to be balanced, because that would be quite cumbersome to do in year one, but just to at least have that data point analysis in front of us, similar to what administration is already doing, just to say, okay, as they've presented the preliminary budget of this is where we're going to be at based on our projections, and they do that in October, have that next year as well, that subsequent year as well, just gives us a little bit more food for thought for long-term sustainability.
Other questions? Go ahead.
So when you first came up with this, I thought this is a great idea. I still do. I was frustrated by this year's process of budgeting. I was frustrated because it felt like there was a moving target.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated because I felt like council was being sidelined. And so I think this is a way to have more eyes on it going forward in the process, not just at the end. So I'm wondering if you're going to be considering even going further and looking at a two-year projection, or are you just going to keep, remember we talked about 2 years?
Yeah.
Is that in your head to?
I'd look for some input from Matt and certainly Tanya on that idea, but I would have no opposition inherently to that, because I think the more data you have, the better the decisions you can make today. So I wouldn't have any inherent opposition.
Okay.
But I'd be curious if Matt
Yeah,
has a
I
thought.
thought that was a good plan going forward too, just to, that next step, so that we don't leave a future council with a big fat mess.
Well,
But I
so
think-
this will look at 2 year, the way that this is proposed is this will be looking at a 2 year. So when we're talking about in October, in the fall, when preliminary budget gets presented, it's looking at not only, let's just say hypothetically, 24 in this year's process, but also 25. So it's looking at those 2 years. Are you talking about,
Yes.
another year?
No.
Okay, so it's looking at those 2 years. We haven't, like Councilmember Cathcart said, originally it was having a 2-year balanced budget, which is what the state legislator does. And the discussion was with staffing where it's at, to put together a 2-year balanced budget would be very, very difficult. Now, is that out of the realm of possibility of going in that direction? Absolutely not. But I think having it at a data point right now to where it's a public-facing document to say, okay, this is with the adjustments that we've made, whether it be taking things out, adding things to, or moving things into subsequent years, we know what that implication is in the subsequent year. We're not just we as a council, as a city, as staff members here at the city, we can't say, okay, well, we didn't know what was going to happen in 2025. Now it's in that document. Now, do we expect that to be all-inclusive? Absolutely not. But there are, again, like we said, a lot of revenues, a lot of expenditures based on those trend lines that we could say, we know, we're into all these contracts, we're into, this is what is on the capital improvement plan, so we know these expenditures are on the horizon. We can put those in there, but getting into more of the details, the minutia, that's going to be something that we're continually improving. But I think, and I think a lot of people have said this, the budget process continues to move along in a better direction to ensure more transparency. And I know the budget office is, again, providing a lot of information, and it's just kind of having that communication with both the budget office, the administration, as well as council of say, okay, here's what we're looking for. Let's put this into code so that we can identify it, we can make these milestones, and we can have these votes. So that it isn't a surprise to anybody at any point.
And I think one thing that I like too about this process is, so much we get a lot of information, and a lot of it is what we're asking for in this, but it's often not in the right context.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it helps, if we are making budget decisions and we're getting information in that context, I think it really helps us to think about everything. But if we get one-off, financial updates and whatnot, but kind of in a different context, a lot of times it's just hard to put all that together and make good decisions. So that's part of, I think, why this is beneficial.
Yeah.
Anything else from council on this? We've got time, but we don't need to use it all, so.
No, but
Okay.
thanks for putting this forward. That was good.
Yeah. All right, well, if nothing else, we will adjourn, and we'll be back here at 3:30 for briefing.